Since we're here in Florida, let's talk about Florida issues.
Okay. Well, I can talk about, tell me where you want to go. Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
You're filming now? Alright.
Dribbling. Oil.
Okay.
What the hell?
Okay, so let me just do a quick few things and then we'll, if you guys have questions, I'll do Q&A, that'd be great. I'm Morian. I'm running for state legislature in District 12 up in Duval County in Jacksonville. And I'm running because I'm an educator and I'm tired of watching our teachers get bullied and our students get shortchanged and watching my students struggle and struggle because less and less of their education is being paid for by the state. And the guys who got the nice, easy, cushy graduation out of Florida or Florida State only take 25% of the cost of their education back when asking my students to pay 50%, 75%. They just take out a loan. What's the problem? And there's a point where I just got angry enough and nobody else was sticking up for teachers, nobody else was sticking up for students. And I said, all right, I'll do it. And so I'm still an educator. That is my day job. I plan on keeping my day job. But there's got to be somebody sticking up for that. Another part of my identity is I am an environmentalist, and so there are a lot of issues happening around the state that affect the environment. So we've talked about possibly removing the ban on offshore drilling, which of course none of us want. There's the big farm going in up near Ocala that's going to suck an awful lot of water out of the aquifers, and Jacksonville, we're downstream from everybody in Florida. The St. John's all flows into our backyard, and so there's a lot of work that needs to be done to protect St. John's that's going to affect my constituents particularly, but all of us in Florida. We need new energy policy. They're talking about building a new nuclear reactor to have more capacity. Well, why don't we work on conservation with that money instead? And my proposal is take the money instead of using it for a new nuclear reactor and take that money and put Floridians to work with 21st century jobs by retrofitting all our schools and our public buildings with environmentally sustainable technology. And that's going to save our utility bills for decades to come. And it gives people training, 21st century jobs, and jobs now that we need because we have a high unemployment rate here. And Mr. Let's Get to Work hasn't done squat. In fact, he has signed away with the stroke of one pen the high-speed rail money and 30,000 jobs. The rail that Floridians, before he moved to the state, voted for repeatedly. He signed that away and 30,000 jobs. With his refusal to enact the Affordable Care Act, that's 65,000 jobs that we're not getting in Florida. Stroke of a pen. So 2 signatures and we've lost almost 100,000 jobs. And so that kind of penny-wise and pound-foolish thinking has got to end. They're doing the same thing with education. They're cutting and cutting and cutting it. Just for the bottom line, $300 million out of our university system in 1 year is an enormous amount of money. And we're hurting. A few years ago, there was an article that $1 billion of research money at our university system walked out of the state of Florida with the scholars, with the professors who won those grants. Because we wouldn't pony up a few million dollars for an extra research assistant or an extra office space or an extra piece of equipment. A few $1 million investment and $1 billion and some of our top faculty left our state. That kind of idiocy drives me nuts. And so now you've got somebody who's angry and crazy who's going to stop this. Because I think that's the madness and I want to stop that madness. And my last thing, which you guys have heard me say before, some of you, is that about almost 40 years ago, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said that we needed to change from a thing-oriented society to a people-oriented society. And he wanted to bring about what he called a radical revolution of values. And I'm running for office to help bring about that radical revolution of values. Questions on particular issues? Anybody wants to know while I'm standing here? Huh? Good question. Healthcare. Or you want another one?
I would just add the nuclear power plant issue, which I've been active on, and I've spoken with the Regulatory Commission and the Florida Public Service Commission. The videos are there on my website for all to see. It's about tying up the capital. If you tie up all the capital, there's nothing left to do these other, these are esoteric investments. No, they're not. Germany is 20% of their electricity is from alternative energy right now. In about by 2020, 40%. So we are so far behind, and it's because of the policymakers, and it's because of the way our system I say that I am, but in certainly the same way you are as well, running against the system. And the system is geared towards, I mean, I can talk about AARP trying to keep me off the voter guide when I've gotten 40 and 50% in elections that I've run in, but that's not sufficient. There's a whole cadre of people and organizations that are in place to prevent what you're trying to do and what I'm trying to do from being successful. And not successful for us, but successful for the people in offering a lever against this corporate dominance of our political system.
Yeah, I mean, most people don't know
I'd
that
love to be
age.
my Harry Mason and say,
Yeah.
where's the question?
This is the over.
No, I want to make a very quick statement, if you don't mind. It's been, and it's just one of the things that irritates the heck out of me so much is that it's been proven time and time again worldwide that eco-friendly alternate sources of energy are feasible, they're practical, they work, and we're ignoring it. Why aren't we all screaming about it?
Because the utility companies are owning
Here,
the.
Oh, that was a question. Why aren't we screaming about it?
Well, and there's your answer. You know, I mean,
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No,
like you said, we've got the
It's a
technology, and here
discussion.
we are in the Sunshine State, and New Jersey has better rebates for solar panels on your roof than we do.
Let me tell you what Florida does.
Out west,
You may know
they
this.
have
You may know
here
this.
we have sun.
What does Florida do if you have solar panels on your house? What did our all-thinking legislature do? No. You don't get paid for the energy you produce and put into the system. What you do is you have to pay a fee to the utility companies to take waste energy off your hands. I mean,
Yeah.
since when is there waste energy?
Well, but you know, one of the new things about solar is a lot of the companies now, instead of selling them, are starting to lease them. And so instead of connecting to the grid, just you could go off grid.
here, and I have a question. What do you think you can do in Tallahassee to try to change the paradigms that we have about having financial interests in politics? In other words, getting money out of politics, and to where, do you think you can start a dialogue there and get an interest in?
I think there's a conversation that's already happening around that, obviously
Right.
with the Overturn Citizens United movement, that's already happening nationally.
Right.
But
if
I
you
think
win,
in
and then
being in
for the
Tallahassee,
state.
again, we talk about gave you a bigger microphone, megaphone to say things from. And absolutely, since I'm running a campaign with no corporate contributions, maybe that'll show some other people you can do it. And that you
Right.
don't have to be beholden to powerful people and money lobbyists.
Kind of break through that glass ceiling.
Now, let me
Absolutely.
add, I ran my campaign on under $300 and I got 82,000 votes.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many people have ever done that.
Yeah.
Or if you
Not
look
that
at
I
our,
recommend running a campaign on that kind of money, but absolutely, it can be done. It can be
It
done.
should be public funding, 100% public funding of all elections, and every candidate that is in the race gets an equal share of the amount
Of the public
that
airwaves,
race.
of the public airwaves, absolutely.
Absolutely, public
Well,
airways.
we need to get where the big money goes is the commercials. And what we need to do is we need to focus the public. If you get the slop off the TV and have public debates, I have this all written out on my website. by the way.
If
Some hack funds that we don't even know.
if you have, and I think people are this election because they have found the young people, whereas 4 years ago they didn't know where they were. They have found them now. I don't know, those of you who have Facebook pages, you know the ads that are going up anytime you open any kind of web page. They're getting blast texts and things. So there's an awful lot of the young people are starting to get sick of it too, besides what's actually on television. So I think the tide is turning to where people are starting to be opposed to that. And they may not recognize the full extent of the selling out of our democracy, but they're certainly tired of being bombarded with these ads. And I think with the right leadership, with the right people speaking about it, you could actually overturn Citizens United in Congress if the right people get elected and take that out.
And also
But you
state
have to,
level.
even the people that you elect that you think are good people, you've got to stay in their face on these things. You cannot let them ignore the issues that are important to you, even if when they ran on it, they ran on it, right? Yeah.
We all know that there is hundreds of issues. And the Green Party meetings that I go to, you hear it over and over again. It's just like I'm a contractor and I can go to a contractors convention and talk war stories with another contractor my age, and we can go on. But you know, we're not solving any issues. The only way that we can solve any issues is to get someone like you elected. You know, so how do we go about doing that? You know, let's devote 100% of our energy to getting you elected.
And I wish there were
just,
more of me.
when
I don't
we-
want to be able to agree there. I
Yeah,
want to be
when we,
progressive.
you know,
With the
when we
ice.
come to a meeting like this, you know, if we're, it's an hour meeting, a 2-hour meeting, or a 3-hour meeting,
Yeah.
all of it should be devoted to how do we get you elected? What market are we targeting? What people do we think will vote for you? Obviously, if you look at younger people, there's a high percentage of those younger people that are the entitlement group. They feel like they're going to start jobs at $50,000, $60,000 a year, and get 2 weeks vacation and company car. You know what I mean? That's not the group that you're going to appeal to. You're going to appeal to a certain, you know, probably a minor group of people or a smaller group of younger people that
Larger group.
Well, no, that-
It's a lot of small groups, but it ends up being a majority.
And that small
I
group will
don't-
talk to other groups.
Exactly, exactly.
And that's how we run the campaign. I've
Right.
gone from one group to one group to one group, and I go to one, and these two people invite me to their 2 meetings. And they introduce me to their 2 meetings.
Exactly.
And that's how we run the campaign. It's been really grassroots.
Well, I just want to make a point that you made about, because I think that we talk about $50,000, and that's really the poverty level. And it would, the new poverty levels, and if you make less than $50,000 now.
What is the poverty level?
Well, we're talking about streets.
No,
I
Mitt
went to
said it's
university.
200 to
Part of some of
250,000.
the discussions that are happening is that people take on so much debt in college. People that kids take on so much debt in college that the jobs they can expect to get when they get out of college will never be sufficient for them to ever pay off that debt.
Right. And you know, I've spent time in Europe where they actually pay for education. I mean, the International Declaration of Human Rights says education is a right. It doesn't specify about the universities, but in that principle, I believe in that. And I believe people should be able to rise as high as they can, whether it's in academics or in technical training or things. If they messed around when they were kids and they dropped out and they need to go back, that door should be open to them to become trained and educated, productive members of society.
Well, it's investing in our resources.
And I was talking to the nurses, we were talking about doctors. I was talking to this doctor who was volunteering in the clinic with these nurses they'd set up because so many of their patients couldn't get health care anyway. And so he and I were talking, he said, well, how would you pay for people to go, if you did the universal health care, how do you get doctors to sign on? I said, well, we do what we do with like the military. A friend of mine did in this small program where if the government's going to pay you for 4 years of school in the military, you give them 6 years back of service, right, in whatever job you train for. So do the same thing, doctors. I give you 8 years of medical school and education training for, then you give us 12 years of service at government pay grade. And then if you want to go out on your own, that's fine. But you at least have the option of buying into a public system. I mean, that's one of the things we lost with the Affordable Care Act. We went from Obama running way back when he was a state senator on universal health care, which was the first time I noticed it. I said, oh my gosh, somebody talk about universal health care in the United States. And then we lost our public option. It got so negotiated away. And then, of course, all the Republicans voted against it anyway. We might as well at least gotten what we wanted. At least give me that option. You talk about choices. That's my choice. I want my choice. So.
You were talking about education, and I think that a lot of people haven't researched exactly what was going on in Canada, where the people actually came together to do their protests, their casserole protests, because their education had gone up like some crazy number, like under $300 or something.
It went up $2,000.
But I mean, they don't even pay hardly that much for their education. Yet they reacted, in a major way to what we would consider a very small portion of the education cost. Because we all know that a basic degree now costs close to $100,000, just a basic
there's a
4
solid
years
issue
social
Say
degree.
about that.
There are a lot of issues there. There are issues there like that you have the healthcare costs for the employees. We pay twice as much in healthcare costs in this country, and we still have tens of millions of people that aren't covered because we have profit built in at every single lever. So an aspirin costs you $30 if you're in the hospital. It's ridiculous. But it's covering all the people who don't have healthcare. Right? So we're already paying for those people. Let's just regularize it.
I give healthcare.
Control.
I give healthcare and I don't get it.
Yeah.
Now, isn't that crazy?
Can I say one word? Piecemeal. That's the system. It's the most inefficient way to deliver quality
Right.
services.
Private insurances, 25% of the cost is administrative. If you go to Medicare, it's about 2 or 3%. So, my European friends, they don't understand why we aren't outraged about this. They've been sold a bill of goods. This is how we have to do it. It has to be free market. Whereas collectively, we have a lot more ability to give healthcare to everybody. And I think, I'll tell you what I think. I think it's wrong. It's just flat out wrong for people to make a profit out of sick children suffering. I think that's wrong. And I think it's flat out wrong to make a profit out of denying people certain types of treatments because it's too expensive and allowing them to die or to suffer. I think that's wrong. And that's what's in our system. This profitization is built in our healthcare system. That's where they're trying to go with education. That's where they're trying to go with our prison system. And these are public goods. There is no morality. It's a bottom line. And I have morals, and I'm going to try to stop.
If we're going to stay a sound society and a sound government, okay, I'm not a socialist, okay, but there are certain basic needs for a society. I'm not talking about people individually, but for a whole society. There are certain basic needs that have to be met to maintain the society. One is healthcare, and the other is education. And if we don't, if technology is advanced to the point that a 12-year education doesn't do it anymore, then why don't we, I mean, we guarantee every child a 12-year education. Okay, but once they get past the 12th
we
year,
guarantee they get to go to a school for 12 years.
the cost becomes so astronomical. Well, but the thing is that once you go into college, I mean, if it takes 16 years education to be able to get a decent job in the technology we have today, the government, the state, and the federal government should guarantee it. Not just, not just give it to the elite, but guarantee it for every citizen in the country. Same with healthcare. Same with food.
And
the basic things that people need, we have to make sure we have that responsibility as a society to give that to everybody. And I'm done.
To offer it. I don't say give, because I think there's a lot of responsibility that comes with it, right? And one of the things I was talking to students at University of North Florida a couple weeks ago was about this idea of healthcare coverage. Well, so do a 1-year AmeriCorps type thing, and that way you're giving service back to the community, you're learning a skill, you're getting on-the-job training in something, you're getting to see how the other half lives if you never have. And it can be like they do in Germany or France. They work in retirement homes, they work in healthcare, they work with the disabled, they work in hospitals as orderlies. All of that helps keep their society running, and it gives students a break away from that year. A lot of my friends have done their gap year, they call it England. They've done a volunteer situation somewhere outside of that. And so instead of, they have an obligation to their country. They either have to do military service or they do civilian service. And I don't have a problem with everybody, men and women, being required to do 1 or 18 months, a year or 18 months of service to their country. And I think that would be a fair thing to ask if you're offering a free college education.
We have no problem demanding it for the military.
Absolutely not. Absolutely. And how many people do you know that join the military just to get an education? My students come back and tell me that all the time.
Hey, just to get a job. I mean, that's sometimes the only job out there.
Well, now,
Yeah, so, but the other thing with healthcare, it's a lot of it's, what I love about the Green Party is a party of common sense and good conscience.
Yes.
And one of the things that's common sense is like medical care. If you prevent care, if you send people, it's not like these people are going to get like boob jobs or things like that. No, what they're doing, if you have a basic health care for all, that means everybody gets to go to the doctor for a checkup. If they have a problem, you can nip it in the bud and not turn it into a major expense. So if people go to the doctor, take care of their minor things, make sure that they are doing well, that saves us money.
It also makes sure that when they get in their 60s,
Let me just make a point, because I work at every level of health.
they don't spend so much money
ICU,
taking care of it,
I'm a
they
nurse
end up homeless
practitioner.
on the streets.
Absolutely.
Okay, bottom line here. Basic is nonsense. Basic is great, except for the fact that we go from basic to comprehensive in seconds. And so what do you do when you walk into the emergency room and you code in the waiting room and then you're going to ICU? What happens when you have a car accident? And it used to, 10 years ago, cost $3,500 just to start up the helicopter over at Tampa General. Just to start it up. And that can be, you can run through 6 figures in an hour in a trauma alert, going to surgery and everything else. So the bottom line is, I have put together, I'm running for federal office, and this is a federal issue. And I have put together a very detailed plan based on all my experience and my education and my preparation on developing healthcare policy at the federal level to solve this problem. And the way I see it, if we are going to ensure that all Americans have access to affordable, comprehensive health care, you have to put in place something along the lines, I'm not saying what I have is perfect, but I think it's pretty close to what you need, whereby everyone has the option of accessing it, and most people who are logical are going to, and this is the problem, whereby we had Obamacare, which was, Affordable Care Act, which was written by the insurance companies, and the politicians were specifically precluded from including what we all want and what is necessary to solve this problem. So it is imperative that we put officials in office, especially a guy with a mouth like mine, and the knowledge behind it, who will not be stopped. That's what is important here. And we can talk, and I've been to millions of meetings like this, and the talk is no good. You have to go right after them, and if you get into the legislature, your Speaker of the House is going to be Will Weatherford, who has never had a real job in his life. You can look it up on his finance reports. And this guy is a total shill. He got $900,000 for a $30,000 a year position. And he is just quintessential. And I have a video because I went after him, and it's called "The Next Marco Rubio," where there's a will, there's a shill. So that's what if you get up there, that's what you're going to deal with. But you got to go head to head on these guys,
right.
and you have to. They'll try and exclude you, shut
And
you
they'll try
up.
to silence you.
Exactly. That's what ARB is trying to do.
Or stop
no
you, intimidate you as a woman. And
Those of you who've known me more than the half hour.
Yeah, you sound like
here.
Yeah. You sound like you might be unwilling to backroom it.
I have a
So.
question to the stage. We need to get both of you both run for office, need to somehow find a way to get you on TV. Because we know that if the people out there hear what our key values are, we're going to have a lot of people that will sympathize with us and jump behind us. But our problem is we don't have enough money to buy commercial air.
Well, that's the problem.
It's not.
It's different now, though. Let me tell you.
How do people
YouTube.
get exposure in newspapers and on TV?
Yeah.
They
You
do.
have to do election
They
reform.
She
do
mentioned
crazy
it earlier.
things.
Yeah.
I mean, they do publicity stunts. They do things that get them recognized. All you need is your 5 minutes.
Yeah.
That's all you need is 5
Repeat it
minutes on
over and over
TV.
Maybe it needs to be like a Code Pink type
Yeah,
action,
right.
where you're actually noticed. I mean, it's over the top, but it's going to get the cameras in front of you.
That's
Well-
exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I'm trying to, and newspapers too, not just liberal newspapers, but newspapers that, Republicans have to read too. Something that's in your face. That's why I like the idea of trying to
Republicans don't
promote,
read what they don't want
programs where you're going to be against the other candidate.
Yeah, and like I said, I told
you
him
have
so
a
much he
forum.
doesn't show up, but
Right,
I'm
exactly.
fine. I've got
And this is what we got to
Okay,
call
my
it.
stuff if he doesn't show up too. No,
Right,
no,
I have a
no.
question for both.
It's a forum.
It's a
He
values
can
question.
Right.
Sure, go ahead.
There's an underlying theme that's where I see it about a lot of this conversation. And what it is that you have egalitarianism and you have privilege and subjugation. Okay? And so all of these issues, to me, have this underlying concept where it's talking about health care, where health care for those that can afford it, or education for those that can afford it. All these issues. Is there something that, is there a better way to communicate this in a less abstract way than
Yeah.
I'm doing this?
Absolutely. I mean, the American Revolution didn't happen just because suddenly everybody woke up. People talked about it and people convinced people that this was the way to go, and it took a long time to get there. When you talk about the reforms coming out of the progressive era, the same thing happened. People organized, they talked about it, and progressives have to stop being silent at the water cooler. They have to stop being closeted progressive. They need to start stating their views to their neighbors, to their family, to their friends, in public, letters to the editor, whatever it takes, TV interviews. They need to start standing up, because there are an awful lot of progressives in this state, but you wouldn't know it by looking at the legislature.
Exactly.
Oh,
Exactly. I mean,
I'm sorry, I do have some.
Try to give you my morals.
I've got something to say.
Okay, two more things, and I'm gonna Alex is waiting.
Just a quick question. I tried to go back to college the other day, and I wasn't able to get on financial aid in time, so I wasn't able to do it. But what they told me was that your courses are covered, but the only thing is the textbooks. So I haven't been in college in years, so I thought, okay, textbooks, no big deal, right? But even used books, like, it was like $200, you know, so what would you do? I mean, what's your plan, if you have one yet, on a way to help with the prices of tuition for out-of-state students or for any type of students, and of course the courses and books, like a way to bring down the prices for students for the next 2 years?
Are you talking about US stuff?
For college, just colleges in general.
No, well, I'm just, because there are an awful lot of schools,
Yeah.
for example, they're contracted with E-Follett.
Right.
And they're all through Follett books, which is out of Illinois.
Yeah.
We're required to give them our choice of books, and they occupy our bookstore. They no longer do what college bookstores used to do, which is take this semester's books, store them in the back, and then bring them out for the next semester. They ship them away, and then they ship them back, and there's a 2.5% restocking fee. They have in their contract the right to mark it up 25%. I have textbooks that are new this year, 2 years later, the used copy costs more than it costs new 2 years earlier. And we're fighting, our faculty are fighting on all fronts, both through the union, through the faculty senate. We're trying to raise awareness to students. I would like, as a legislator, to require us to spend our state dollars, enter into contracts with Florida companies, with local companies, because we have used bookstores in Jacksonville, but I'm not allowed to order my books through them or send my students there by our contract. And so I would break that, and I would bring it back local. So anything that we're doing, instead of saving a little bit of money by working with a big multinational company statewide, chop it up into little contracts for local ones, keep the jobs here, keep the money here, because those folks live here, they pay taxes here, they vote here, and the people in this warehouse in Illinois don't. And so I'm trying to already do that with our adjuncts. I'm trying to keep our online classes being taught from people out of state. I don't care if they're in Miami or Tampa, as long as they're in the state, because that money will then go out of the public coffers to somebody in Florida and be spent in Florida. If we hire somebody from Ohio or Nebraska to teach our online classes, that money's gone from our state and will never come back.
See, I'm not fair.
Now,
Yeah.
partly in answer to your question. It's something I've had on my mind for quite a long time, and I talk to people about it all the time. Okay, in this iPhone society that we have, people want immediate solutions, or they want nothing. That's what the politicians promise, that in the next 4 years, I will give everybody jobs, and I'll give everybody educations, and I'll take care of health care. We know it's not going to happen, but we elude ourselves into believing it will because of this iPhone society. It takes somebody with a megaphone to say, look, I can't do it in 4 years, but I can get us going the right way. I've got the beginning of the solution. And if we all pull together in the next 8 or 10 or 20 years, we can do something about it. It's convincing the people that what their common sense tells them is true, really is true. You know, the people in this country are deluding themselves. They really are. They think that, you know, as an example, I don't like a lot of what Obama did. Okay, but one of the things he did do is he curbed the inflation. Okay, during the Bush administration, we were inflation was skyrocketing beyond control, and Obama at least kind of leveled it out. Okay.
It's not good for banks.
No, it's not. You know, it is.
And we've been told
It's not
that
better than it
inflation
was
is
4
bad.
years ago, but it could have
Inflation's not
been a
bad.
lot worse.
Yeah, but the Fed was not gonna let that happen anyway. So I mean,
But I know. And the thing is any
They
problem
weren't
we have now, economic, education, healthcare,
Right.
jobs, everything,
Well,
okay, is not going to be a quick iPhone solution.
they're not going to give me a magic
People
wand, and
need
I
to
would want to
know
be a
it.
dictator, however benign. So, you know, we have to build a new majority, and that's what we have to do, and that's going to take all of us
that to have that confidence that it is okay to do this, because they're not alone. And I think there is a TV venue that I'm interested in getting into in Tampa, but you have to be in Tampa to do it, but maybe next trip or something, because I'm gonna look into it, because they had a thing for the RNC, and it's in the USF, there's a mall right there, and right in that mall, they have this people station, and they need some programs, and so I'm gonna look into that. So that's something we can do, and then we can get you on the community.
I really loved your answer, because there's an underlying current of that. When you talk about the Occupy movement, the 99% and the 1%, that's an underlying issue, and that's starting to actually percolate, and it's starting to resonate with a lot of folks. I think really what generally is
It's the megaphone thing,
is that progressives need to stand up and be able to articulate this, and that's why. And you gave an absolutely fantastic answer on that, and I love that. I'm glad we got that on video. And I'd like to hear your answer on that.
Let me say this. I'm really yeah.
Versus
And there is crossover between the two, but you have to look at who's in control of the conversation. Okay? And most people, when you talk about progressives, or let's just talk people, most people are non-confrontational. And you know, I enjoy debating. I enjoy, you know, okay, that's what you have to say. Let's look at it from this perspective. Most people don't like to do that. If that were the case, everybody would be in politics, but they aren't. And we have a lot of people, you know, we have all this information, you know, the propaganda network. I mean, where I work, up in Fox News City, the villages, it's Fox News all the time, and these people live in a bubble. And there was a great show on, I think it was MSNBC last night, called Rock something or other. And they were interviewing Bill O'Reilly and Ted Koppel. I think it was both of those guys. And what they're talking about is, you know, it's not news. I mean, a guy came into the car dealer when I was sitting there waiting to get a rental car today, because my car had to take my car to get fixed. And, you know, the guy said, well, what's on the news? I said, this isn't news, it's propaganda.
Right.
Masquerading as news. And this is the problem. People don't distinguish that, and most people are followers, and so they follow. So yeah, the key is, why do I keep running? You know, I don't have to do this. I do okay. I have plenty of hobbies and everything, but I know that there's no one that will go straight forward on these issues in the manner that I know has to be done. Because I know I upset these people. I upset them. Why am I not a Democrat? The Democrats are an arm of the Republican Party in this state, at least in this region, but you know, they are. I've said this for years. You know.
Turn off. I gotta talk.